Hello, I am Super Orange Cat, and here are Toonami's ratings from September 24th, 2019. Let's start at the top of the block. Dragon Ball Super pulls in a .35 this week. Genlock ends at a .20. Dr. Stone is at a .17. Fire Force is at a .15. Food Wars is at a .15 as well. Black Clover's at a .14. Boruto at a .13. Naruto at a .11. Gundam goes to a .13 this week. Lupin the Third Part 5 is at a .10, and a rerun of My Hero Academia is at a .12. In general, this was kind of a mixed bag for Toonami. Actually, more bad than good, because the only good stuff you could point out is at the very top of the block. Dragon Ball did go up to a hundredths of a point. That was to be expected. We're getting the home stretch. 2 episodes left of Dragon Ball Super. We're going to get them on the next 2 weeks. So, probably going to be 2 more weeks of high ratings, and then we have very difficult questions to address for Toonami of how to replace Dragon Ball Super. Genlock, the other decent story this week, it goes up 1/100 to a .20. This was the last episode of Genlock. There's some discussion about whether or not season 2 of Genlock will ever be produced. However, since the creator left, and Rooster Teeth has had some very publicized issues with employee work, employee compensation, and with a drop in subscribers, I don't think it's likely, and honestly, I don't think it'll ever happen. And then, so, and that's also another slot that needs to be addressed because Genlock, despite what I expected of it, it kind of held up pretty well in its spot in the block. It all but 1 week, I think, got at least a .20, which is a degree of consistency we haven't necessarily had too often in the follow-up slot to Dragon Ball Super. Although the only show I can immediately think of that had better retention percentage-wise was Boruto. And now here we go to kind of some of the bad stories of the block. Dr. Stone goes down to hundreds to .17. Dr. Stone, in a way, reminds me so much of Promised Neverland in terms of performance. It was very hyped up. People were talking about it every week, but at the same time, the ratings never truly materialized, giving a feeling of being more of a cult hit in a way, where it's like, whoever loved it will talk about it and will make their voice heard, but a lot of people just who haven't watched it or don't like it just don't really talk about it, which gives the impression it's a massive hit when apparently it isn't. And also, Dr. Stone, like Fire Force, has the issue of being only not that far, only I believe a few weeks from the actual subbed episodes. So if you watched it subbed, you might not necessarily want to rewatch it so quickly, which is something that's kind of going against Dr. Stone and Fire Force at the moment. But going into that, Fire Force drops 3/100ths, .15. I believe this is the lowest rating it's gotten on the block so far. Definitely considering how hot pun intended, how hot a title Fire Force is. This is a number you don't really want to see. And also going to that Food Wars for almost the exact opposite reason is bad because it's at a .15, a small drop. I think Food Wars has been lower in the past. However, how I think things are going with what Toonami's going to do, schedule-wise, Food Wars I think is going to ultimately be the new Hunter x Hunter, as in it's a long-running show, and with poor performance, it's going to get slowly but surely pushed all the way to the back. So in a week or two, when we get the actual schedule for, I believe it's October 12th, we have 2 new shows. I'm fully expecting Food Wars to get a pretty serious demotion. At the very least, it's going to be after 1 o'clock. It's not going to stay at this 1 o'clock slot. Although it's one of the better shows, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to get the good treatment. Black Clover, you could almost say the same thing, too. It's at a .14 this week. It drops 1/100th. There was some promise not too long ago about Black Clover being this long runner that would hold very high teens or low 20s. And it's a case of very poor timing since we are starting a reasonably new arc in the show. That's when ratings typically are the lowest for an arc. So it's just timing's going to kill the show. Even though it was getting pretty good ratings towards the end of the last arc, I believe we're a little ways away from Black Clover really getting over like a .14, .15 hump. And you have Boruto too. Boruto is an interesting case because I've mentioned before how Boruto has been able to get like high point twos or even hit point three that one time. However, here late in the block, it's languishing at a point 1.13. So I would honestly not be surprised if Toonami finds some excuse that when we get the inevitable new schedule on October 12th, they're going to try to put Boruto up in the block to try to prop up ratings, perhaps even making Boruto the leadoff show in the block. So I would not be surprised if, even with One Punch Man Season 2, even with Demon Slayer coming to the block, we're gonna have neither of those be the leadoff, and instead they'll have a more familiar title in Boruto be there, and probably have immediately after that have like Demon Slayer, then One Punch Man Season 2. Because that's the only guarantee I feel like we can have with this new eventual schedule. Both One Punch Man Season 2 and Demon Slayer will be towards the top of the block. Anything from that is just anyone's guess what happens. And then Naruto ends up having a very bad week, a .11. It drops 400ths, and it actually gets built on by Gundam. Gundam's been a weird case this time around. Gundam's ratings have barely moved, but typically it's actually built on Shippuden nearly every week. I don't know how many episodes Gundam has left. I don't really follow Mobile Suit Gundam, so I can't tell you that. However, it's been interesting because it's actually done pretty well when it's late in the block. And it's holding up well because the show after it, Lupin the Third Part 5 is at a .10, that had an ugly week in the ratings. However, I believe it was the falling action from the pretty good mini arc, in my opinion, the whole Ami's friend being a princess and Fujiko being after the blood diamond, which I thought was a pretty good idea and I actually love the execution of it. Maybe people had a bit of burnout from it. Maybe people just love the action of it, but didn't want to have to see the episode or two in between before we get to the next mini arc in the show, which is understandable. And then My Hero Academia, .12. Usually that's a bad rating, but I mean, it built on Lupin the Third Part 5, which is pretty good for a rerun. And of course, My Hero Academia is not going to get high ratings until we get season 4, which we don't know if we're going to get, and if we get it, we don't know when we're going to get it. So until then, My Hero Academia, I think, is pretty solidly going to be the last show in the block. Even if what some people are suggesting is that Dragon Ball Super in the near future will come back to the block as a rerun, I have a feeling it would even be slotted ahead of My Hero Academia in reruns because Dragon Ball Super being the more desired name for having consistently higher ratings than My Hero Academia ever has on Toonami. So in short, I think the big question, like I've been alluding to this entire video, is on October 12th, what are we going to see? What's the schedule? What is going to be the game plan for Toonami? How are they going to try to maximize ratings throughout the whole night? If I had to throw a guess right now, I would go with Boruto at 11 o'clock. Then I would go with One Punch Man Season 2 at 11:30, Demon Slayer at midnight, and then just anything goes afterwards. Probably Dr. Stone and Fire Force soon after that, since Nami has shown some hope or some desire to keep those shows reasonably early in the block as well. And after that, it's anyone's guess. All I know for sure is that Lupin the Third is going to be down in the block. Food Wars will be later than it is now. My Hero Academia is going to be late in the block. And if we ever get it, Dragon Ball Super reruns will probably be late in the block as well. So what do you guys think? What are your guys' opinions on these ratings for this week? What do you think is going to be the schedule on October 12th? One additional note, I may or may not do a Toonami ratings video next week because it is going to be a Dragon Ball Super marathon. A new episode will air at 11 o'clock. That is the penultimate episode of Dragon Ball Super. Then after that, they're going to be rerunning the previous 10 episodes from 121, I believe, all the way to 130, with 130 being the second to last episode. So that will air at the first and last slot in the block next Saturday night. So as a note, and if it's a very notable or some weird trends I want to point out, I might make a video on that, but there's no guarantee. So anyway, and then the week after that, we have a weird scenario where we're going to have 2 new episodes of Dr. Stone to make up for a gap week because Genlock did air its last episode, so it's going to be off the block. So it's a 1 week gap stop until until Demon Slayer and One Punch Man Season 2 are ready to air on October 12th. So Again, what do you guys think? What do you think the new schedule is going to be October 12th? What do you think is going to be the lead off? What do you think is going to be the show that Toonami is going to try to put in as the new Dragon Ball Super? Leave your comments, leave your guesses down below. If you like this video, if you like Toonami ratings, content like this, please subscribe. Please like the video and hit that notification button. I appreciate your support. I am Super Orange Cat, and that is all.